welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Yugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Okay, folks, welcome to the show. Just a little preamble before the interview with Laura, just to sort of catch you up on a bit of news. So since we last recorded, there's a few things have been happening. So you may have heard of the awards that we've put together. So myself, Kate from Run Ultra, and Robin from the running accountant Robin's Running Roundup. We've got our heads together and finally did what I've been wanting to do for a while now, which is create trail and ultra running awards. So Tura, TURA, Tura 24. So basically off the back of what we felt like was a shame that Jasmine Paris had been sort of snubbed by the legacy media, sports media, with sports personality of the year and everything. So we just thought it was about time that we started to recognise the people in our sport. And obviously there's different awards around the world, but there wasn't any British awards for trail and ultra running. So we thought we best start it. So so if you haven't voted, it should have been sort of all over social media. But if you're not on Instagram or Facebook, then if you going to try and find a link somewhere, so there's links all over social media. If you send me a message, either through the podcast messaging service or on somewhere. I'm trying to think of some way of getting in touch if you're not on social media, but get in touch and I can send you the voting form, and it'll all get collated. The last day for voting ends on Sunday, and then on Monday night we're going to do the awards ceremony. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to work yet, but if you see me posting about it on social media, we're probably going to do like an invitation to people to come on if they want to come on the podcast and be in the audience when we do the live awards. Then I think that's something that we're considering doing. So keep your eye out for that. It might be sort of thing that where you have to sort of send me a message and I can give you the link to the Zoom meeting that we're going to do it on. And it'll all be recorded. You may just sort of be in the audience in the background, or you may contribute in some way. We're not quite sure yet, so we're going to do that. And the other bit of news is I've launched Home Trails. So you've seen me banging on about it turning into a brand. Well, it is a brand now. So check out Home Trails on social media. So wherever you can find it, Facebook and Instagram, and you'll see I'm going to start putting t-shirts and hoodies and stuff on there for people to buy. So the first lot are going out. I'm just going to sell them out cheap, just to sort of get them out there and get them known. So send me a message if you fancy getting involved with that. Right, I will pause because Laura is in the waiting room and we'll invite her on the show. Zoom. Okay, we're recording it again. So officially, welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. Laura Swanton. Right, I'm going to get your name wrong, aren't I? Right, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Swanton Rouvelin. It's very difficult to say, and actually I probably say it wrong myself. So he'd said it in some beautiful French accent.
Laura Swanton Rouvelin. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we? Bonsoir.
Yeah, bonsoir.
Once more, once.
If I could speak, I'd love to say I speak fluent French, and I should, but I don't. Useless.
So as we've just established before I hit record, I'd come to the realization today that me and your husband, myself and your husband, spent a good few hours together on the winter spine back in January of it's last year now, isn't it? Yeah, officially last year, January 2024, and yeah, we shared some painful miles, some very cold miles coming off Pen y Ghent. It was particularly windy and cold. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
bringing back
I
some memories for you.
yeah, so and obviously like this time of year, I call it it's Spinemas in my sort of podcasting world because basically all every podcast I do at this point is connected with the spine race in one way or another. So and I've been trying to pin you down to a time in a day for for, for an interview. And sometimes I'll complain on the podcast about how difficult it's been to arrange a podcast with somebody. But I think this is probably like the most backwards and forwards I've ever had with any guest to try
I'm
and get
so sorry. I'm really sorry. My life is so hectic. It's
on.
just so there's not much spare time. So this has just worked out really well. I only messaged you this morning, didn't I? And said I think this evening's good. So yeah, it's just honestly, I can't tell you. Day to day is just so hectic.
Well,
I,
yeah, I really appreciate you making time for it. So yeah,
pleasure,
thanks for being here.
pleasure.
Awesome. So as you're a new guest to my podcast, if I know Jean-Pierre listens, but if you've ever listened to any of the podcasts, I always start with new guests with the superhero question. So so
God.
if all of us as ultra runners, we're all obviously superheroes in one way or another. So all superheroes have an origin story or a backstory of, how they became that superhero and what led up to it. So, Laura, what's your ultra running superhero origin story? How did you go from, normal human being to being an ultra running legend that you are?
Oh gosh, that's very kind of you. Um, well, I started running after having my second child, just to sort of get rid of. It was just to get fit and get rid of any sort of excess baby weight, if I'm totally honest, and never expected it to lead here. And I was just I will blame actually Jean, because it was when I met him, he was training for his first ultra, which was the Arc of Attrition 100 miler, and I thought he was absolutely mental. And he was going for a 40-mile training run the day after I met him. And I thought that's so odd, because I was doing half marathons and marathons, which are awesome in their own right, but I just hadn't considered going any further. And I actually surprised him at Land's End, which is sort of around halfway, and I just couldn't believe the buzz and the atmosphere, and gosh, the pain and just the determination, everything. It just really hit me, just how incredible ultra running is, and it's a whole new world in the running world, which I felt like I'd been in for a few years by then. So yeah, it inspired me to give it a go. So I signed up for 100k along the Jurassic Coast in Devon, and it went a lot better than I thought it would. And then I found myself signing up for a 100 miler, a Centurion 100 miler, and then I just couldn't stop myself, and found myself entering the Grand Slam, and yeah, it just led to more and more distance, I guess. And yeah, it was the spine was something that again Jean introduced me to. So I always thought that was out of my reach, and I just used to watch it and think, wow. And then as I did more ultras, I found myself thinking, well, just maybe I could give that a go. So I guess that's what sort of led me. It's my husband, isn't it? The more I think about this, it's his fault. Actually, I say it's his grateful. I'm really grateful, because what a world, what a community ultra running community is, and just so many places that I've seen that I would never have got to see, and people I've met, and yeah, it's an incredible world to be a part of, I think. So I feel very lucky.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yes. So you didn't sort of go down the whole like 50K route then. You went straight in for a 100K on the Jurassic Coast.
Yeah, it was nearby, and with a club, and with people, the race director I sort of knew climbed Southwest, and it seemed the right thing to do, and it was a beautiful race, and very hard. I remember it being really tough, but so hard to explain how you feel during an ultra and after, isn't it? That you sort of question your life choices sort of a lot of the way through, and then you have moments of feeling absolutely incredible, and like, wow, what is this my body is capable of? And then when you cross that finish line, it's just nothing else like it, is there? But yeah, the Jurassic Coast was a tough one, but like I say, absolutely beautiful, and made me want more of it. So maybe a good place to start, because it was so stunning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've ran quite a few of those sections on the Dorset side, so sort of from
Yeah,
along there along that section, because my brother lives down in Poole, and
yeah,
we've over the years having kids and having a caravan, we've sort of gone down there and stayed like just above, Dancing Ledge, which is on the Dorset side, which is like it's what part of the like the cliffs that are on the Jurassic Coast where you can jump off into the sea. Well, whether you're supposed to jump off into the sea, I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. But we
Oh,
always we always camped there. And then I would always go for my runs. I will try and sort of, how it is with a family. You try
yeah,
and fit your run into the day in some way or another. So if we would go into a certain beach along the coast somewhere, I would run to the beach, and that would be how I got my training. So I've ran that section to Durdle Door, and there's some horrific climbs in that section where you go from there to Durdle. So I can't imagine what it's like further on.
yes, yeah. It is pretty brutal, but
Stunning
yeah,
though. Yeah.
yeah, it's really beautiful.
I think actually, when I'd been down there before, the way I sort of describe the Jurassic Coast is like it feels like the Peak District by the sea to me.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Yes, yes, just along coastal paths instead, isn't it? But
Yeah,
but stunning. And
yeah,
I'm always searching for that. I feel like in Devon, you know, we don't have like the climbs that are in like the Peak District, and I feel like I'm always searching for big hills. But along that section, you
yeah,
certainly get some
yeah,
good hills, some good elevation.
definitely, yeah. Um, so you sort of started off with Centurion races then. So you've sort of made a bit of a habit of doing the Centurion. Is that just because of the sort of proximity of the races to you, or is it something that you just love about Centurion races?
Yeah, they're not that close to me at all. Sort of four-ish hours away. So it's really, I stumbled upon Centurion years ago. This is when I need Jean Hicks. He's like my sort of keeps a catalogue of when I've done things. I'm like, when did I do that one? Um, but I stumbled upon it. I think it was in 2017, 18. It's going to tell me I'm wrong. And I didn't know anything about Centurion at the time, having just started my ultra running journey, and I just feel lucky that I stumbled upon them for my first 100 miler. And amazingly, they had a space left in the North Downs Way 100, and I just found myself entering it without really seeing if it was okay with anybody or anything. I just clicked and thought, okay, I'm doing that then. And I can't recommend them enough for your first 100, because the you could get away without crew, really, because the aid stations are so good, and they're so welcoming. I really didn't have a clue what I was doing for my first 100, and it was made so much easier because of of Centurion, how they run things. And yeah, so there was none of this. I don't know. I didn't feel like, oh, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I was just helped along the way by all the amazing marshals at the checkpoints. Have you done any of those?
No, it's always been sort of they've always been like a something that I've felt like I needed to sort of tick off in ultra running, and because I think because I'm in just like just south of the Peak District, so just outside little village between Derby and like Ashbourne, the just on the edge of the Peak District. So I've always sort of tended to, as soon as I sort of discovered trail running and ultra running, I just started doing races in the Peak District, and I've
Yeah.
always sort of occasionally I've gone to Wales to do a race, sort of gone across a bit, but I've never really travelled south for for a big ultra or anything. So, but it's always something that I thought, and especially when they started doing the 200, the Winter 200, which you won, didn't you? Was that the first one, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
last
well,
year.
no, not last year now, the year before.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna keep saying that, aren't we? Last year. Yeah, 2023. So how did you find that then, as far as um, with the comparison? Not that they are, not that you should compare those races. You shouldn't really compare the spine and that race because they are very different races, aren't they? But how did you sort of find with your experience of doing other big long distance ultras, how does that sort of fare against those?
Um, I think it. I think I described it before as like a really great lead up. If you hadn't done the spine before, it would be such a great lead up to that. If you were nervous about doing the spine and thought, "Gosh, can I manage 200 miles?" It's just, or even if the spine wasn't on your radar, but just to see if you could take that leap up from 100, it's like the perfect race for that, because again, you are so well looked after by Centurion, and they have crewed and uncrewed people there. So it shows. I mean, Emma Stewart, who won it last year, she didn't have crew, and absolutely smashed it. So it show, I know she's absolutely incredible anyway, but it does show that you can do an incredible job without crew at that race. In comparison, it's to the spine. Like the spine, you're a lot more remote, and you're a lot more, you feel like you're battling against the elements more, because it's that tight, where it is, and you're in mountains and in very much in the middle of nowhere, and in the spine, that's how it feels, whereas in the Centurion one, the 200, there isn't quite that sort of feeling of being in the wilderness as much. So that's why I think it's a nice
Mm.
step up, sort of stepping stone to the spine. And I think a lot of people will use it for that. And then a lot of people use it to just experience the 200. And I loved it. I really loved it. Like with any race, especially a 200 miler, you have your really dark times. But I just thought the route was great. It was lovely knowing you were doing a nice loop. Yeah. And like I say, just brilliantly organised and brilliant marshals. So, and it's nice to sort of do a bit of the South Downs way, and you have a bit of the North Downs way, sort of linking them together, and other Centurion races I've done. So there's a bit of familiarity there as well. So, and I think people would like that as well about it.
Yeah. So I suppose you're sort of describing it as a bit of a gateway drug, like to
Yes. Yeah. Anyone that's sort of tentative, yeah, just it's that race to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. So it was when I saw James posting about it and saying, the first one and everything, I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting." Because obviously I had the spine to do in January just gone, but I almost like at the start of the year after I'd done the spine, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if I should put in for the Winter Downs 200, and then I was undecided about what I was doing and couldn't really commit to it, and then I just left it too late to,
Ah,
but maybe, but then although. I promised the wife that I would. She made me promise at the end of the spine that I wouldn't do it again. She actually, she actually videoed me saying like making a promise that I would never do the race again.
Do you think you'll stick to it?
Well, I think I can talk around. Yeah,
Yes, yeah. There's already that you're definitely going to do it again.
I think so. I think so. I'm back doing media again this year, in a couple of weeks, obviously. But then, yeah, next year, or maybe I'll just sort of do both and do one of the shorter races, do like challenge yourself or something, and then
Yes.
do media. Maybe I'll do that. It's just, I don't know about you, but it's just that race, like, just captivates me, and it's just something that I can never get away from. As much as I like think I should be trying to do other races and trying to concentrate on other things, all roads seem to lead back to the spine in one way or another, don't they?
Yes, it is really, I before doing it, I couldn't understand, people that go back year after year after year. I thought, what, why do they keep going back? And running it the first time, I was like, I remember saying, I've got to finish because I'm never doing this again. And and I said that like when I crossed the line, like I said to Sean, don't let me do this again, don't let me do this again. And then it's like literally a few days later, yeah, I need to do that again. Definitely, definitely need to have another go at that. And he said to me, absolutely not am I doing it, himself. I'm not doing it again. And he's definitely going to do it again. So I think it's just, I don't know, the route, there's so many elements to it, aren't there? The route is just, there's so many breathtaking parts and there's so many different parts. It's so interesting and diverse, and it just keeps you interested. And then you're battling the darkness, and the conditions every year you can have something so different. No race is the same. So, and then there's the team. I think that makes it, there's something about very special about the whole spine team.
It's
um
a fine family.
yeah, it just keeps bringing you back. So yeah, I hope this is my last.
Yeah, when so we were talking about when I fell over and then not basically knocked myself out. I think the official line that I'm not really supposed to say that I knocked myself out because the medical team weren't too pleased when I said that, I knocked myself out, and I quickly changed it to I think I knocked myself out. Um, but when they held me, it's Greenhead, isn't it? Just at the start of the Hadrian's Wall, they held me there for like 4 or 5 hours until the like one of the top medical team came to assess me.
Yeah.
Uh, and they were saying, they're saying, really, you should be out of the race, really, because if you've knocked yourself out, then you need to be put out of the race because of concussion. And I was like, no, I can't because I can't come back and do this next year. I've got to finish it. I've got to finish it this year. I'm not coming back next year to do it. So there's no way I'm coming back next year to do it. I've got to finish it. And eventually they did sort of assess me and then say you can carry on and finish. So I got to the end. I was like, that's it. So okay, and that was the reason why my wife said, I want you to promise that you'll never do it again and put us through this again.
God. Yeah. And now you're wavering.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about going back next year.
Yes. She'll be really
Um,
happy.
but enough about my running of the spine. You've got so this sort of have you got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the spine? Because you've had some struggles on the race, haven't you, before? How do
Yes.
you feel about it?
Yeah. I think with the winter one, I've really struggled with the weight of the pack. It's something it's really, really a struggle. And I find it really painful. I did on the first one I did, I nearly stopped at Hawes because I was just in so much pain in my back. And thankfully, the team there just said, look, change your plans, just have a rest, have some food, and just see how you feel. I even had a shower, and I stayed there a lot longer than I ever planned. But it did sort of reset me. But I teamed up with someone lovely, and we finished it together. But it wasn't how I planned to do it. It was a brilliant adventure, and I feel so lucky to have had that experience and shared it with someone who I'm still friends with. But but we couldn't, both of us couldn't run from 100 miles from Hawes. We walked it in from there. They didn't do another step of running. So that was because my back was too painful. So that's not really what I had planned at all. And so then I went back the following year. I sort of persuaded Jean to let me have another go. And then I had even worse issue with my back, and ended up stopping at Malham Tarn, which just was, it took me months to get over that. I was so upset about it. But the medic literally couldn't run a finger across my back. It was just so painful. So I then did the summer one to make me feel better about it. And I'm really grateful for that experience, because a whole new experience, and I loved it. And the weight of the pack for the summer one is that bit less, that I was able to cope better. But then I had terrible feet, so my feet were then an issue for summer one. So
that was the summer, wasn't it? Summer 23. Yeah,
yes, yes.
I did Challenger North, and
Um,
my feet were absolutely destroyed.
Oh, it was that weather, wasn't it? The rain was, as I left Hebden, I thought, should I put on my waterproof socks? And made the decision not to. And that's when, you know, when you can make that one decision that just flips your whole race. And I didn't put them on, and then, you know, it dried up and it got really hot, didn't it? And my feet were, it's like, sorry everyone, but it's like someone had grated my feet by the time I finished. They were just bleeding. They were just awful. They were awful. And I don't think I've ever been in so much pain for such a long time. So yeah, that was a real battle to finish. And unfortunately, it really slowed me down again. And I think, you know, that's the thing with that race. It doesn't matter how far in you are or how well you're doing. I mean, I had a great first sort of 150, 200 miles, really. And then the sort of last, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 miles were just absolute hideous pain. But, you know, it may, I like to think all these things make you stronger. You sort of put them in your locker, you know, in your mental locker for the next time. You think, well, if I could finish it like that, then, you know, if I don't have those issues to deal with next time, then, you know, hopefully that'll make me stronger to plow on. I think I just want to go back and give the winter one a good crack, having worked on my back a bit, and, you know, hopefully not have feet issues, and just see what I can do with things maybe going a little bit right.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? I think the whole foot, your feet in winter obviously are different, aren't they? It's a, I mean, that race in the summer, they sort of said, everyone said it was like the perfect storm for like horrific feet, and it was, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
just, I've never been in so much pain in my life. I was literally like popping cocodamols like every 4 hours. I was taking, I don't know how many I got through, but basically I got through a lot.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that sort of took the edge off it, that was to be able to sort of put one foot in front of the other just to finish that race.
Oh, yeah, it's
But then
awful.
winter, it's I literally had like, I had one, my little toe on my right foot, I think it was my right foot, just turned into like a balloon, and like the whole of my toe was one big blister, and my toenail was floating around in it.
Oh, that feeling is horrible, isn't it? Oh,
But it did, but it didn't hurt. That's the thing. So it wasn't a blister that sort of stops me from finishing, basically. And I remember like finishing and not really worrying about my feet at all. Whereas like every single step on the summer race, after about 60 miles, it was, my feet were done. So
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
oh,
I really, yeah, because I made the mistake of putting my waterproof socks on later, when, so I had them on when it was really hot and sunny, so they'd got all wet and horrible, and then I put the waterproof socks on, then it got really hot. Honestly, I swear they were fermenting in there. It was just so awful. And I did a bit of the Cheviot with no feet, with no socks on, because I just wanted them out in the air, anything that, oh yeah, horrible to be in that much pain.
I think, like you say, it's all it's. I don't know whether that's true actually. Whether it is true that you have that memory, you've been there before, so you know that if you've been in that pain before, you can finish in a work, that in a state like that. But maybe it's just like when you've been in that much pain, when you start to be in pain in a race again, your mind goes to that horrible dark place again sooner. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that I really think it makes you stronger, because I just really, I just said to, when Jean saw my feet at the end, he couldn't believe it. And I just said, you know what, that if I can run that far in that much pain like that with these feet, then that's got to give me strength. That anything else is surely going to feel like, you've got to
Like,
remember when you feel that pain. I think you just go, no, remember that time, Laura. It was way worse.
um, so what have you done then? Corrective work for your back then? Are you in the gym doing stuff with a heavy pack? Or are you just out running with the heavy gear and getting it in that way?
Well, much to my upset, I did agree. Kim Collison coaches me and has for a good few years, so I go to him for any tips, and he was very much like, yeah, you need to get to the gym. Um, and as we've discovered, you and me, I don't have much spare time, so getting to the gym has been hard work. So the only way I could do it, I'm really, really funny about giving up runs, but the only way was to say, right, you don't run on that day, go to the gym instead. And Kim was very much like, this is more important. You know how to run, and you can do the distance. It's you need to strengthen your back. So I've been just once a week, just going with Jean and just trying to. It's totally out of my comfort zone going in the gym, but so I really hope it's going to have done me some good, and just literally spend the time working on my back and nothing else. Just
Yeah.
trying to add some strength. I've got two ponies now, so I think every time I'm carrying a bucket or lugging some hay over my shoulders, it's all got to help. And yes, I have been. I think I've trained more with the pack this time, or more sort of concentrated time with the pack. I sort of was a bit more unorganized, I think, the first time I trained, and I didn't get my pack sorted properly for ages. And I used to carry a weight, like a weight in my pack instead of carrying all the stuff that you need. Don't ask me why. So I just don't think I had I just didn't organize it in time. So yeah, I had this weight, and then you sort of realize actually it's far better to just get yourself set, get everything you're going to have in your pack, have it ready and organized well in advance, and train with all of that. I mean, it's quite obvious really, but I think the way my life is, I just hadn't sorted that out in that time, and also probably hadn't bought all the kit then. So this time, yeah, the bag has been on the go for quite a while. And so even when I'm out with my daughter riding the pony, I'll have the pack on just to hike beside her, just to get any opportunity to carry that weight. So hopefully, and I've taken some off my back and put it round a
Around your waist,
belt.
yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll help as well.
Yeah. When I interviewed Dougie Zinnis last
Mm.
year, he was saying how because he's a hairdresser and he goes to work and he has his pack on while he's cutting hair. So
Oh wow,
all
that's
of his kit in his pack and he's cutting hair all day.
that is brilliant. That's such a good idea. I don't know what they'd think about that at the hospital.
Yeah. So you raise a good point actually. So, we were talking about how difficult it is to sort of, find time for, going to the gym, something that we should do. Find time to fit everything in. And you've sort of been very open, haven't you, on social media about how you've not struggled with your training, but you've struggled to balance everything and just fit everything in. So what are you sort of your learnings from that, if you've got any?
Well, it's prioritizing, and like you made a point earlier, it's like fitting runs in wherever you can, and opportunities to, like, say, train with the pack, like when my daughter's on her pony, or it's just thinking ahead. And I hold my hands up. I'm not the most organized person, so trying to be more organized, um, and like having everything ready to go. So I'm trying to think ahead of the next day, what I've got in, what run I've got to do, and I commute to work running. So some days am I taking my spine pack, and what other stuff do I need for work? It's a constant thinking forward. And like I say, I haven't always been good at that, but I think I've got better at that than I was before. And trying to prioritize, just it's taking time when you're busy to it's making that time to think ahead. And the opportunity, I do funny things, like if we're going to see my mum at the weekend, I'll run to my mum's and meet everybody there, and then I'll run back, or it's just anywhere I can fit it. And that's worked well for me. But actually, what I've also changed is, I think the year that I didn't finish, I had probably overtrained. So it's also learning from that too. I'm quite obsessive, and feel I need to, or did feel I needed to, get a certain amount of miles in per week. And Kip tried for many years to teach me, you don't need to do that many miles a week. It's not about that. And I think he's finally got through to me. And I think that was the harsh. You learn some of your best lessons from getting it really wrong, don't you? And like I say, it took me months to get over the not finishing the second winter spine. So I've really sort of gone, right, I don't need to do that many miles. I was knackered. I think I was knackered when I got on the start line. I'd done myself in the lead up to it. So I haven't done as many miles this time. So we'll see, won't we, if that works. I hope it does.
It's I think you sort of described there, like most ultra runners training for a big race, like when you said about running to your to your to your mum's, that I had a flash of me like last weekend, like running to my mum's house because we were all going there for tea and stuff.
Yeah.
Just they're the thing when you're a busy parent, they're the things that you have to do, because I always thought, I've always said that you don't realize how much spare time you have until you have kids.
Absolutely.
And as much as I love my girls, I've got two teenage girls and I absolutely love them to bits. But they sort of taught me that, you have to use your time effectively, don't you?
Oh, definitely. And I'm obviously love my kids. They're the most important thing, and that's why, like, they come first, and so running has to sort of fit in. And for me, they go to their dads every other weekend, so Kim's always known I won't do a long run if they're not with me every weekend. When they are with me, that's my priority. I'm not going to go out for like 4 hours. Bye, kids. So I have to sort of fit it in, or do other sort of, Kim gives me other runs that will be effective, but not the distance when they're with me, or not the same amount of time. And then obviously when they're not there, then I do my long runs. But yeah, kids definitely teach you that. You think, I remember thinking when I was in my 20s, or my early 20s, oh, I'm so busy. I have no time for anything. I had so much time. I really did. So yeah, like you, just taking any moment you can. But then you've got to also, I think, be aware that you mustn't completely exhaust yourself either if you're trying to cram everything in these little moments. I think Jean sometimes says to me, you just need to sit down sometimes. You just need to stop. That's important too. hard to get the balance right, isn't it?
Yeah, I always, I go by this mantra, um, and you'll know this from coaching, obviously, that your body only understands stress, doesn't it? It doesn't understand where the stress is coming from, whether it's trade. It doesn't know that the stress you're under is from running or from life. But there's only so much stress that your body can take in there in a week.
Exactly. And I think again that's what impacted my last winter spine. It was not just the too much running, but it was the too much of everything. And work was quite stressful at the time. There was just so much going on, and I, like you say, I think you can only take so much. And just like with everything, then you learn and you grow from that, and make sure you don't put yourself, you end up putting yourself at risk, don't you? Risk of injury or mental breakdown of some sort. Honestly, I just think you if you're doing that much in every aspect of your life, and something's got to give at some point. So yeah, it's a really hard lesson, but I did learn a lot from having to DNF that winter spine, and I think it's made my training more enjoyable. So because I haven't got that pressure from me all the time. You need to do it. I had 70 miles in my head all the time. 70 miles a week. As long as I've done 70 miles, and now I honestly couldn't tell you how many miles a week I do. I don't look at it anymore. I just look at how much time I go out for a run, and I don't know how many miles I do. And I think that's much healthier. And I feel I'm doing enough, but I'm not overdoing it. So
It's a good point. I had years like you. I commute to work backwards and forwards, and that's how I get the majority of my training in. And for years, I used to very easily get like 80, 85 miles a week, like just commuting to work and then a long run at the weekend. And it worked really well because nobody missed me in the morning when I got up early to go,
yeah,
and then it was only an hour to get home, so I wasn't particularly late back from work. But then I realized that I was getting injured, and that even though I'd been fine for years and years and years doing that mileage, maybe it's just as I've got older and I'm now in my mid 40s, it's probably not as viable as it used to be. So I think maybe that's just part of like adapting as you get older. Not that I'm saying that you're getting older or anything, but as you probably get a bit older and a bit wiser, you realize that and then when you see like people doing so well on lesser mileage, because it used to be like an obsession doing, oh, you've got to be doing 100 plus miles a week,
yeah,
professional ultra runner. And then you see people like David Roach, who's like setting course records on like 65 miles a week at the
yeah.
most.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's not. I just think we get. Well, I do. I just get obsessive with things, and I just had this 70 miles in my head. I just plucked a number, but I did it for years. Every week, I had to hit at least 70. And it's been with Kim nearly 5 years, or it is 5 years now, and it's taken him that long to finally this year sort of. I just realised it only the other day. I said to Sean, I don't know how many miles I do a week anymore. I really don't. It's lovely. It's quite liberating. Um,
yeah.
but it's not. It's not all about that. It's really not. And if you're going to break yourself, or thankfully I didn't get injured by doing too much. Well, I guess I did with my back at the winter spine, but I wasn't out for ages after that. But I don't think I was mentally very good then. I didn't have time. I was knackered, and that's not good. That's not enjoyment, is it? And this is supposed to be our hobby, and we're supposed to enjoy it. So yeah, tough lesson learned, but a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of hobbies, then tell me about your obsession with horses.
Oh, I've always had an obsession with horses. I was fortunate enough to grow up with many different animals. I'm a proper animal lover, and so yeah, we had donkeys, goats, ponies, everything, and I had a lovely childhood with many animals. And then as I got older, when I was 16, I got my own horse, and yeah, absolutely loved it. And then yeah, you get busy, you have to work and do proper real life things and grown up things. And I didn't have ponies anymore and had children. And I never thought I'd be able to make it happen again because they're so time consuming. And I told my husband they're not that expensive to keep, and realised soon that they take every penny you've got. But 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 yeah, really, my daughter got into ponies, and I just thought, oh, my boys are sort of. My boys are 16 and 17 now, nearly 18, the oldest, and I just thought they don't need me quite as much. They don't want to play games in the evening anymore, and they want to do their own thing. Whereas my daughter's at the time of her life where she would really benefit from pony time, and so would I. So so I made it happen somehow, and yeah, we've got two now, but one is ridden and one's just a little rescue companion, and I feel so lucky because it's my real, although as time consuming as they are, it's a real stress reliever for me. I love seeing my daughter getting so much enjoyment. It's great time for us. But like, I'm with my daughter more than anybody else, I think. And it's such a great thing for a 14-year-old to spend her time doing. And she won't listen to this, but she's not interested in boys or anything like that. She's just interested in her pony, which is great. Yeah, so like say, I just love animals, and I just think, yeah, any time with animals is so good for the soul. But for me, ponies it's just a wonderful thing. And yeah, riding out on my own is that's probably a good thing for me with the running. It's a nice sort of balance rather than just doing the one thing that I was totally obsessed with. Got two obsessions now, two time consuming, expensive obsessions.
Yeah, one or the other. Yeah, you know, I know where you're coming from because so my wife, she grew up, grandparents had a farm, and she had or grew up with, you know, having a pony right up until she was, you know, just before I met her.
Yeah.
And then the our girls are 14 and 13.
Mm.
They've sort of always had lessons, but we've never had a pony of their own. But my wife has, over the years, she's sort of like part loaned a horse and
Yeah.
like shared a horse with people and stuff. And it's always been something that she's, you know, she's loved. And it's, you know, that's her time away from everything to go and, you know, go riding and everything. So I
Well,
know where you're coming from. And when running gets too much, then just having something else to focus on is great,
definitely,
isn't it?
definitely, and I think that caring for animals, I think is it's a really good thing for anybody to do. Just giving so much of yourself to a creature that needs you it's just a really um, healthy thing to do. And I think it's great to teach your children that as well. Yeah, and I think you have to absolutely love. Well, you'll know this from, and your wife will know this. You have to absolutely love it, don't you? Because being out in the weather we've had, and you know,
Mhm.
I mean, we'll go out in any weather. Yeah, and that's good. It's good for your children, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, make them tough.
Yes,
Make them ultra runners in the future.
exactly.
Right, we better talk about running again because people will be tuning out. We'll
I
talk.
know, I know, I know.
So what are you, have you got a sort of a game plan for the spine? What is your approach to it this time? Are you going into it with, you know, hopes of pushing the pace, or you know, how were you feeling about it leading into it?
um, I just want to have a good race for myself. I I don't like to have expectations. I've obviously got, like everybody would have, I've got sort of an A goal and a B goal, a C goal, you know. But I don't want to go into it too speedy. I really struggle with eating. Um, so, and I think my eating problems come from when I'm going, like really pushing the pace and going for it. I get really nervous before any race, especially this one, and as soon as I get going, it's hard for me to rein myself in. So, and then when I'm that high up, like the adrenaline's going, I can't eat, just can't get anything in. So I want to try to rein myself in and just try going off a bit slower and steadier, not worrying about what anybody else is doing around me, and hopefully be able to fuel myself better without feeling sick, because I wasn't able to eat anything up to, well, hardly anything up to Hawes the first time, and got there in a bit of a fainty state. Didn't faint, but felt like I could. So yeah, not going off too fast is a big aim for me. Getting sleeping right. I would like to try and sleep more actually, and not.
Because you've done big races on very little sleep before, haven't you?
Yes, and that tends to be my sort of, up till now, I've sort of thought that's the way to go. You're saving time by not sleeping, but actually, again, I've been discussing this a lot with Kim, and I feel like we've both said you sort of you think it's a good idea to save the time by not sleeping, but then, especially in winter downs, I was like falling asleep running and then sort of jolting up going, where am I? Like, which direction should I be going in? I really had no clue what I was doing. And then you think how slow you're going if you're like that, in that mental state where you're like basically like a zombie. And yeah, I mean, in parts of the spine, I thought I was up there with my children, and I was searching for them, like thinking I was on Dartmoor or somewhere, completely off my head, and and that was lack of sleep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't think to myself, why don't you just lie down there for 10 minutes and reset? I just went round and round in circles, like absolutely not with it. So I think I think sometimes we think, when you've seen other people, like the incredible race Jasmine Paris had, which none of us can ever forget, you see what someone like that does, and they on barely any sleep, and you think, well, that's the way to do it. And it's become like a thing. I think, oh, I only had like an hour's sleep in the last 3 days or something, and maybe that's, for me, not the way to go. I would like to try just giving myself a little bit more earlier on, and seeing if I can actually move a bit better, not be a zombie and not think I've lost my children on the Pennine Way. That would be nice.
Yeah, I think what it's going to take is like people being confident enough to sleep earlier, and show that you can still run a good race, like by stopping and sleeping, rather than, like you say, there's been a bit of a trend, hasn't there? And it's got worse and worse and worse because people have been getting faster and faster and having less and less sleep. But is it going to start shifting the other way? Because I know from when I interviewed Kim a few months ago, he was saying the same thing, that he now sort of is starting to think more about sleeping earlier on in the race. And because when I got to Hawes, I was absolutely happy to go, and I had a shower, I put my slippers on, had some food, and then I had some kind of sleep. I don't know how much sleep I had really, but I had some form of sleep. But I felt absolutely golden after that sleep, and went out feeling absolutely like a new day, even though
Yeah,
it's like night or whatever it was, or in the morning. Um, so I think someone's got to find the balance, haven't there? Someone's got to find the right amount of sleep, that where you're not wasting too much time,
yeah.
but gives you enough sort of rebuilding for you to then push again.
Yes. I think it just makes sense, really, doesn't it? I think I feared sleeping, like for wasting, counting all those hours up, the amount of time you waste. But actually, it's not wasted time. It's actually letting your body recover, and for the next part of the journey. I did sleep more on the winter one that I finished. I did, but because I was unable to run, you don't really see the benefit of that. It's hard to know how much that benefited me. I still don't think I slept enough, but I did at every checkpoint have, apart from Hebden, I did have a sleep, and I actually had a shower too. So I did take that time. But and I think I'd be happy to take that time, but just be more organized and efficient with my drop bag and everything. If I'm going to take that time to sleep, I want to be more organized. I mean, I was just a shambles how I was in the checkpoints on the first time. And I just, yeah, didn't have a great system. It was much better for the summer one. So hopefully it will all come together. But yeah, I still sort of, it's hard to know exactly how much sleep I think I will have at each checkpoint. I'm going to have a good think of it over the next week, but I'll also play it by ear. You know, I think you have to adapt so much in that race. You can't just have this plan and go, I'm going to just do that. You just have to gauge it when you're out there as well. But I hope it will mean that I can run more. That you know, in the summer one, I was able to run right to the end. So I really hope I can do that with the winter one as well. And also, if you sleep, you take your pack off, have a rest from the back. Yeah, it's all going to benefit you.
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah, it's just you can go into a bit of like a time warp, can't you, when you go into a checkpoint and you think you've only been there for like half an hour and you realise you've been sat looking at your drop bag for like an hour or something, trying to find something.
Just staring, hoping the answer will come out at you from somewhere. Yeah. What? And then you pack everything up and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then they'll go, have you shown the kit you need? Out it all comes again.
Oh, that's a nightmare. Yeah, I've been having FOMO about not doing this year's race, but at the same time, the more I hear about and remember the race I had last year, I'm thinking, yeah, I can cope with a year on media. It's fine. It'll be okay.
Yes, and might remind you not to do it. No, no, it won't. It won't.
That'll be my wife that reminds me not to do it.
Yes, I'm sure.
Amazing. So yeah, it's not long now, is it? So yeah,
No,
hopefully we
do
are
the
going to get through this weekend, and then next weekend it's yeah. So are you heading up there beforehand a few days, or just the day before, or?
I'm working on the Friday, so we're going to be part of the journey on the Friday evening, and what we quite like is a real treat is how sad are we, but stopping at a travel lodge or somewhere, and you don't have to get out till midday the next day. So it's like I've got a lie-in. Like it's so the biggest treat on the way to the Spine is having a good lie-in on the Saturday, and then we'll do the rest of the journey and head to registration. So
You've got to bank that sleep, haven't you?
absolutely, that's what I think. And when you're not used to a lie-in, I mean that is quality sleep.
And have you got any like last minute things that you're panicking about, like as far as like kit or anything, or are you absolutely all sorted with everything?
I think I'm pretty good. Yes, a couple more bits of food I've got to get.
It's the
But
fun.
I feel so lucky with what I get from Innovate. So I'm trying to I try to have little packs for each checkpoint that I can just go fresh clothes, you know, and then there's not too much, you know, that zombie type trying to think state. So I just get a little pack,
Oh, that's good.
take it out.
Socks, lots of socks.
Yes, lots of socks. There's so many waterproof socks. I even got some for Christmas, and I was so excited about it. But yeah, I think that's half of the battle is getting to a checkpoint and thinking, what do I need to change? And that's what I learned from the first one was, well, I'm just going to have a pack for each checkpoint, and even if I don't use everything from it, I know I've got fresh everything in that bag. So yeah, that was what I'm planning to do. So I've still got that to do, which I find quite stressful, is setting up my drop bag. The drop bag of doom.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it starts off so neat, and then literally after a couple of checkpoints, there's just stuff all over the place, isn't there?
I know the first time I did it, I didn't have a proper drop bag. It was like one you take on holiday. It was just like this leather big bag, and it broke. The zip broke like halfway through, and the lovely people at the checkpoint were winding a baler twine around it. Honestly, it was just a shambles by the end. But
It's all part of the experience, isn't it? So
exactly. I still can't believe it's just over a week away. It just suddenly comes round, doesn't it? It's just suddenly there.
yeah, that's it. You're waiting for like Christmas and New Year, aren't you? And then suddenly that's it. Your
Yeah,
spine.
yeah, yeah. Then the constant weather check, which I don't know why I'm doing that because you can't do anything about it anyway. So it's just
No, no. What you get is what you get, unfortunately, isn't it?
yes, and you know you're never going to be completely happy. I mean, what you had last year,
Oh, I loved
people
it.
would say was absolutely perfect. I know it was absolutely stunning, but I'm sure that it was hard on your legs, all the hard ground, and
Yeah, and yeah, this like post hole in, like going over Crossfell and all the
mm,
snowdrift and everything over there, which was absolutely spectacular. And I've got
yes,
some amazing photos from up
I
there.
bet.
It just felt like though that section just seemed to last forever. Like
Mm,
especially when you've done it in the summer and you know that you just sort of roll over those hills to Crossfell and then you're down.
yes,
It just felt like, why is it taking so long to get to
yes.
Crossfell?
It's Crossfell.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person then at some point during the race. I'll be chasing people around with video cameras and bits of filming equipment and whatever. And
And motivational speech.
I'll try not to hassle you too much for talking parts and stuff. So
Oh no, it'll be lovely to see a familiar face. It's always lovely on the spine to see a familiar face. It's like a warm hug in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, it will be in the middle of nowhere as well, won't it?
Yes,
Amazing. Well, all the best for the race if I don't see you before, and I'm sure I will see you at some point. And yeah, all the best for it.
thank you so much. It's been lovely to talk.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm glad we managed to finally get it nailed down.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. So sorry.
Absolutely fine. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks for giving up some of your precious, very precious time in the lead up to the race. And
Pleasure.
cheers. So thanks for listening, everyone. See you soon.